Last year, just before Haven rotated out, there was a bit of a change in the Haven meta, and that was to go to more comps like this one. This is from an off-season game between Sentinels and Moist, and you can see they're both running this comp with Viper Sky, and this became very popular just before Haven rotated out. But of course, since then, Sky got a big nerf, Viper has also been nerfed, and so most teams now, with Haven coming back, have moved away from that kind of comp. But there is one team that is still running it at the highest level, and that is GenG. And GenG, I think, are making a case that this comp can still work and is still very, very good on this map. And we're going to talk about why that is the case, focusing on the Viper and why Viper is still so strong on this map. And GenG, on the defensive side, they're actually doing something a bit different to what most teams were doing before. Most teams were doing a setup where they had the wall come across here on C, something like this, and then they'd throw their Viper orb here in on A. Like this, and this was the Viper setup you would see, and it was very good for kind of delaying over towards C and also providing some delay over towards A. But you can see that GenG have actually gone for a bit of a different setup. They've gone for kind of this wall across A and B here, and they're putting their Viper orb on C. Now you might just think that this is kind of a more basic setup in one sense, you know, than anything else. But this setup still can provide you with some advantages. And the first one of that is that you can still hold on to the backside of A, like we're going to see in this round here against RRQ. RRQ are just going to come in towards the A site. Eventually Texture does get a kill, but he gets pushed back. And now you're going to see that with this Viper wall in here, you know, the rotates start to come in. And now you're going to see that GenG are able to kind of hold on to the backside, even though even Texture actually thinks that they're not going anymore and he starts to rotate away actually. They're able to come back with this Viper wall and kind of hold on to the backside here and win the round.
Up around the A site for the time being as the Yellow Drone kind of pushes out in towards sewers.
But no smokes. You lose your smokes here on Haven, single controller. I mean, sure, you have the Cypher, so yeah, you have a little bit more leeway, but you're not going to be able to afford it for the lurk either, so they're just going to turn up the tempo. They're hoping that it's going to be a rotation out from the operator, and they would be correct on this read, but they don't quite have control of the site yet. GenG, they've already filled up the link, and they are here to flood right back in. You know that they're trapped because of the angles that Munchkin and Texture are holding together.
And there was another good example of this in the game that GenG played against DRX here as well on round number 5, where again, we've got the same kind of setup here. And again, you see the DRX in this round are just stacked up. They're going to come towards A. Actually, it's only Lakia on his own this time as well, defending this A site. But you're going to see again that just the wall gives us just enough time as, you know, Munchkin starts to rotate in. You're going to see that he's going to throw his snakebite just here, kind of perfectly timed, flood in, and then he's just going to be able to hold on to the site enough to where it's easy for everyone else to mop up.
Oh. This is going to be tough. A lot of DRX.
Oh, Buzz, Stinger trying to find that kill. Going to be Bane, he's able to collect one, but Munchkin takes out 3 before falling. TP across Mako, just trying to play elusively here, but he cannot escape. Charon.
So you can see GenG getting the benefits of playing the Viper and just having that little bit of extra stall to allow them to then come in onto the site. But let's talk about this setup in particular, right? Because GenG, you know, you might argue that, hey, the old setup with the orb in here and the wall out here towards C, that was doing a very similar thing, right? And in fact, you could argue that this orb, you know, gave you even more chances to, you know, really hold on to Graffiti and, you know, attack towards short if you wanted to as well. Like, why have they done this setup instead? Well, I think it's because GenG are also prioritizing, of course, the B site as well, right? With this wall here, you also get the kind of, you know, denial of access towards B, whereas with the old setup, with the wall here and the orb here, you know, your Viper wasn't doing anything towards B, whereas with this one, you are. So, for instance, if we take a look at this round, and there was quite a few rounds in this DRX game where DRX are going to end up going kind of late towards B, which is a fairly common idea, right? Particularly when things break down like they're going to in this round, where we end up in a 4v4 just here with trading ops and whatnot. We end in a 4v4, you know, it's quite a popular idea to maybe just end towards B, which, you know, a lot of times the defenders, you know, might just leave a bit more open, like we see GenG are doing here, right? Where we kind of have 2 leaning towards A, 2 leaning towards C, and, you know, now Munchkin just kind of, you know, gradually taking a look at B there, but, you know, no one's actually on the site. But of course, with this Viper wall, it just allows you that bit of extra time, just to get across here, like you'll see in this round now.
Ball down, flashback, still trying to challenge here against Meteor. Puts him down to similar HP levels, but cannot confirm that kill.
Another shadows. This time around, the B site is left undefended. Right now, Munchkin seemingly thinking that this might be a pullback towards A, but gonna get the heals.
for Karan. Get him back up to near full health. Not quite. He's going to win a battle against Foxy9.
Takes him down.
30 seconds left.
3 players, though. Near A, but now the attack gets ready to come into B. Updraft going to be heard. Munchkin going to be spotted. Munchkin still able to take out Buzz. Karan finds flashback, and now Mako trying to keep them in the round. But
And there was quite a few rounds in that DRX game that played out in a similar sort of way, where GenG were just able to sneak back in onto the B site and then being able to flood it. And of course, from DRX's perspective, even if the spike does go down, of course, when the Viper is alive, you kind of can't, or it's much harder to play a post plant out here, of course, because this is going to be permanently smoked with both the Omen and Viper here. And GenG also got pretty creative with some of their defensive Viper setups. This one is one that I hadn't seen before, but it's really quite cool, you know, with the Viper wall coming out here towards A lobby instead. And in this round, we're going to get a really, really cool aggro defensive A play from GenG.
A painful round. RQ really needs to find a way to turn things around, but starting things off already, Munchkin pushes up on the offensive, takes down the first kill, Karan on to the next, and as they continue to pinch even further, this firing squad pushes up front, and they eliminate RQ in.
And so in that round then, what you just saw was obviously you had the Viper wall here, you had double sky flashes coming through, you got a snake bite in here, and in that version the Omen TPs just outside of the wall, and then obviously the wall drops and they manage to get a kill. Now this is a different setup that they have with this wall this time, where this time the sky is going to be the one to come and get aggressive, and they're going to Omen flash the cubby here instead. So a bit of a variation on this wall, which doesn't go quite as well as it did in the RRQ one, but they're still going to come out on top of the round.
Crucial for that B plant. Not that I think it would have mattered too much. GenG did a great job reacting.
Oh, the push up, and Mako is just trapped in a corner. Lakia trying to flash himself out to safety, but Buzz does manage to get in. It's ahead of that. Finds the punish with the knives. Now, weapon going to be scooped up for him. So in the end, 4v4. Smoke still sat there at sewer, but Karan going to be drifting away from the angle. Munchkin holding this close right approach. Buzz, does he check? Oh, this is going to be a double fake, but Munchkin is able to gun them both down, and Karan has the covering fire. The wider swing doesn't matter.
So you see all of the different ways that GenG are able to use Viper to gain some advantages on their defensive side. But of course, that also translates to the attack side as well. Now, in terms of what GenG do on the attack side, they do go with what I would call the meta wall here, right? And just doing this wall down here like normal. Most teams were using this wall across A and B. And this wall creates a lot of problems for defenders, because as we'll see in this round here against DRX, you know, we're going to get a Silver Dart out here. We're going to get an Omen smoke. But the thing is, of course, when this wall goes up, you know, Munchkin is just able to sneak past it here. The dart is too late. It actually lands, you know, outside lobby here. So perhaps they weren't expecting this kind of timing or whatever. The dart doesn't scan anyone, so they don't bother stunning down here, DRX. And then when GenG are going to start to, you know, kind of group up and make some noise out towards C, we're just going to get a free kill here from Munchkin, right? He's just going to tuck himself down here. And this is why the Viper wall is so strong. One, it often will keep 2 players here because they don't have perfect information of what's really going on towards A. It's quite difficult to, you know, get fully ahead of this wall and, you know, have they snuck down towards shore? I don't know. So often you're going to get 2 players out here towards A, which makes the rest of the map easier to hit anyway. And then secondly, it's also going to create confusion where you might want to re-clear this at some point if you are DRX, and stuff like this can happen where you can just get free kills like Munchkin is going to do here, particularly, you know, if our team is making some noise out towards C. Mako, you're going to see in just a second, is just going to walk out, and it's going to be the freest kill here for Munchkin on Mako, and all of a sudden we're in a 5v4. And of course, one of the big nerfs that Viper got since the last time Haven was in the map pool was that Viper can't pick up the orb anymore, right, and reposition it. But that isn't as big of a problem on Haven, just the way that pro teams were using the Viper orb, because most teams were just using the Viper orb, you know, they were just putting down this wall, they were keeping the orb, and then just seeing where they actually ended up as to where they would use it. So, you know, we would just, if we were going A, we would just eventually use it here for the postman, right? If we're going C, we're just going to use it here for the postman, right? So we don't actually ever really need to pick up the orb. That wasn't really a big part of how the Haven meta really worked on this map with Viper. So that nerf didn't really impact Viper the same way. And now you're going to see in this round the effectiveness of that orb in terms of just making a retake really, really hard.
Jemkin's tucked away inside of B cubby. Got a little bit of cover as well, but then the push comes through. Paranoia out, and Astray unfortunately gets pinched. GenG makes a call for it, and they manage to make it work. RQ, without the firepower, just can't quite go in for the strongest retakes, and everything's being blocked off. The cycle of the smokes just blocks everything off even further.
Oh, with the double Vandals, RQ, you have to try something, but again, it's the same scenario. This time, Texture's in the smoke, and you can tell RQ, they suspect it, they think something's up, but other than spamming, there's not much more they can do. Sure, you could try to use the drone, but that's 400 credits for what? Not a guaranteed round win. And now Texture exits, still so much time wasted from RQ. They'll go for the dash in. Was he spotted? No, not again, the other side! A triple kill for Texture. Outplaying the entire team of RQ 2 rounds in a row. Mind games and the aim.
So in that round, you just see how the cycling of smokes is just very, very oppressive, especially against kind of, you know, the more meta comps now on this map. You know, they don't have a pop flash to just go out through the smoke, right? So when you end up just cycling Viper Orb into Omen Smoke into Viper Orb into Omen Smoke, and it's just constantly smoked off, it becomes very, very hard then to pick a timing to go for that retake, and eventually you just have to end up pushing through smokes and dying to Texture as they did right there. So on the whole, personally, just looking at this, I still think that this comp that GenG are running is actually a very effective one, and one that maybe more and more teams will pick up, because I think in particular, yes, Sky just isn't as good as Sky used to be, let's just be real, but I still think that Viper, even after the nerfs, still provides you so much value that GenG have been getting throughout these games, because Viper is still just that good.